The following program deals with a controversial subject. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. What's going on, Midnight Watchers, and welcome to the Midnight Paranormal Society Show with your host, Mike Cardenas.
Video. There it goes. All right. What's going on, Midnight Watchers? Thank you for joining the Midnight Paranormal Society show. I'm your host, Mike. I'm here with my co-host, Robert, a.k.a. Goggles, and
Hello.
our special guest that we have tonight, Jay and Marie Yates, as seen on Haunted Case Files. Thank you both for being on the show this evening.
Woo!
Hi, thank you for having us.
Oh, my pleasure. And also, for all our Midnight Watchers who are watching right now, it is Jay's birthday. So for those who are watching live, if you can drop in the comments a happy birthday to the man right now.
Yes.
And for those who are going to listen later on in the podcast, if you can also drop in the comments a happy birthday for this gentleman, I would definitely appreciate that. So again, for Jay and Marie, if you don't mind, for those who don't know who you are, for our viewers, if you can kind of just let them know a little bit about both yourselves, who you are, where you came from, how you got into the paranormal field, please.
You want to go first?
Yeah, you can go first. Ladies first.
Oh, thank you.
Burn.
I always say, like, I was kind of born into this. Like, I never really asked for the paranormal to be part of my life. It just was a part of my life. I grew up haunted. I grew up seeing children at the moments as they looked upon death. So if that was like drowning, a car accident, a fire, they would visit me by day and mostly by night, but sometimes by day, and appear to me. They were non-communicative. I could not hear what they were saying, but it was definitely frightening as a child growing up, and not really like having these cool ghost shows to really like look at and go, okay, I'm not losing my mind, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of continued all the way up through my teenage years. I was given multiple psychological evaluations. I can tell you I'm not insane.
Yeah.
Well, second, I don't know about that.
I sound with your wife on this one.
I had support. I had a supportive grandmother and a supportive mother who would kind of listen, and they didn't really understand. But there was two people that I always looked at, and I would see these Dateline 2020s and these special news reports with these people named Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, like, oh my God, like these people like are doing it. Like they're not just running from it; they're running towards it.
Yeah.
And I would flip out little articles and stuff, and I would save stuff and tag marks in like Reader's Digest that my grandmother would have, and different random magazines that they would appear in.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like the only thing I had. And about fast forward to 1999, I had a near-death experience. I saw the other side. I guess you could say I was a ghost for a little bit, and it kind of like changed my life and my perception. I was a pastor for a while, so I did youth group for college ministries. I pretty much got excommunicated because they felt as if because I believed in angels and demons that I was kind of a bad thing to talk about.
Wow.
So I ended up having a lot of paranormal inquiries and stuff, so they just really didn't like it. So shortly thereafter, the falling out of the church, I met my wife Marie, who like did not have a background in any of this. So screwed up her entire life since then.
I always said, before I met him, I was like in the light, and I married him, and I went into the darkness. So
He lured you to the dark side.
I will honestly say, growing up, I really wasn't around anything. The only kind of ghost I ever knew was like Casper, the friendly ghost. I mean, I didn't know anything.
You could do worse.
Hey, he was my favorite one.
But it was after I met him. I think us being around it a lot. To be honest with you, I remember the first time we started dating, he would tell me things. And I at first I thought, I was like, boy, is this guy crazy or something? But the way he spoke, it's like he was speaking the truth with his eyes. You could tell by his eyes. And I'm like, well,
honesty.
Yeah, it's like you see honesty. I'm like, oh, well, you don't find that. Yeah, you don't find that.
That's so rare.
It's rare. And I was like, okay, well, after being with him for so long, things just started happening around me. I have an autistic son from a previous marriage. He always had things happening to him. But before I met Jay, I always thought it was because he was autistic. It was that. No one told me anything different.
Wow.
But when we met, him and my autistic son bonded.
Okay.
And
That's
he
good.
honestly never wanted to be around mom anymore. He wanted to be around Jay.
Cool dad.
After a while, because he adopted him. But it was just like, so that's when I wanted to learn more about the paranormal. And I did a lot more research and stuff like that. And I think after so many years, I started having abilities myself.
Yeah.
I think anybody, if you're around the paranormal field, to be honest with you, and you're really into it, I think you start having some kind of, sensibility to something.
Yeah.
I think this opens up. So I don't think it's just, anybody is. I think all of them are different special gifts, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes I don't think it's a gift because sometimes I can't sleep because of it. But yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting ride, I will honestly say. I'll tell you, my parents were scared crapless when I first met you on all that stuff.
Oh, that's a fun story.
It was interesting when we first met because, like she was talking about our son Steven, like he was talking to what we thought was an imaginary friend, and it was a kid named Nicholas, a man named Snake. And it turns out, like in a process of a series of like elimination and me seeing what he was seeing, we found out that there was actually a murder-suicide that took place there. The guy's street name was Snake, his moniker was Snake, and the kid's name was Nicholas. He actually drowned in the bathtub and took his own life afterwards. So my son was seeing him, and I was seeing him as well. So that kind of bonded us. There's actually a show we did on Travel Channel for those people interested in that story. It's called Scariest Night of Our Lives. It was one of the I did myself. You can find it on there. I think it's called like Steven's Imaginary Friend or something is the episode. But they did a really good job with capturing that story accurately. So if you're interested, check that out.
That's awesome.
Definitely.
Man. That's amazing. And so, once you kind of had your experiences, did you kind of do like a solo thing? Did you try to be a part of a team? Like, what was the next step for you?
Well, in 1999, the day before Thanksgiving, I caught my first trespassing charge. Jump in the back of this guy's backyard. His name was Old Gus or something. And supposedly the house was haunted for years, and the public was allowed in it at one point in time.
Okay.
And then I guess because of legalities, he shut it down. I ended up trespassing. He shot at me multiple times. I ran from the cops like an idiot. So for those people out there that are getting into this, get permission because like we're not exempt from going to jail. I was 17 at the time, so I was lucky enough for them to drop the charges with me. And then about 3 years later, I ended up, or what was it, 4 years later, I ended up with the sheriff's office myself. So not a bad guy. Definitely.
That's one of the reasons I joined Mike's team. I'm tired of running from the cops.
Right.
I know right shortly after we got together, we had a really bad haunted in our own home.
Okay.
And we honestly didn't know exactly what to do. So we reached out to a whole bunch of different paranormal teams, and everybody's like, wait, it's too, what your house is going on through, we just can't do it.
Oh, wow.
At the time, we were really mad. We're like, why aren't you helping us? And then and they told us to reach out to like churches and stuff. Well, no churches would help us either. So that's when we decided, you know what, we're going to, more or less kick its ass. And I mean, it took a while.
There you go.
I will honestly tell you, it wasn't like overnight this happened. It took a while. But in that process, we ended up with a team. And what was it? Because we wanted to make sure any other families ever called in and said they needed help, there was a team that they can go to. And no matter how dangerous it was, we would go. But now we will honestly say, I honestly give credit to the paranormal teams out there, because now I will say I don't like some of these paranormal teams taking some of these cases when it is really bad, because they shouldn't, because they can make it worse. So I give credit to them now that they said, all this other option.
I remember at the time when we reached out and everybody was like, no, I was like, well, what the heck are we going to do then? But I look back at it now, I mean, this is going back to what, 2002 or something. And it's like, well, I mean, how responsible was it of them to say, hey, we can't handle this, So I'm appreciative that they didn't. And I'm grateful that we were able to go in there and do our own thing, because it really started to show us what direction kind of I think God had to set for us. in the future.
Yeah, set the platform for you.
Absolutely, and then ever since then, our mission has been to seek truth, understanding, and proof of the paranormal by any means necessary. So we've always taken that kind of like hardcore, like stern approach to investigating, and we've been successful for what we've done thus far, at least.
That's amazing.
Success story.
And one thing I definitely agree with you is that certain teams, nothing against any team that's out there, grinding and working hard, but there's some people who shouldn't take some cases, and we've been very fortunate that, we're the kind of team, besides having this show, is that we grind really hard, and unfortunately this coronavirus kind of sidetracked everybody,
Sidetracked everyone.
But before this coronavirus, I mean, like last year, we investigated. I'm talking about every single weekend from January through December. I'm talking about anywhere from 1 to 3 investigations a weekend. And then on top of that, other teams will come to us and be like, "Hey, Mike, can you take this case for me?" And we would be, I mean, I'm talking about so many cases we didn't know what to do with them. And to me, I'm not the kind of person who's like, "Oh, it's all for me." I try to, build a network and work with other teams and say, "Hey, listen, I'm not going to just give the team away to just anybody, because I want to make sure that if this team's going to take it over, my name's on it. I don't want to have my name ruined because someone thinks they can take it and they mess it up and then it backlashes to me." So, we've had like this one team in town. They had a case that was very severe. And one thing I always tell people, whether they're up and coming, I don't care if they're tenured, they're seasoned, when you go into a case, you have to be prepared, for the worst of the worst to happen. And we had a case where this team, they gave us a case like, "Hey, can you take the case? It's last second." I'm like, "Yes." We went over there, and it is very important for you to have your stuff together. You need to have your paperwork, for liability. You want to make sure that you don't get sued in any way. You handle business, man. And so we were in the process of having the client sign the release forms. That way we don't get in trouble if anything happens. And we didn't know she was an empath, and we didn't know that she had drank a little bit before we got there. And she lived on 3rd floor apartments, right? And I'm a big guy, man. I'm not skinny by any means. And I was like huffing and puffing going up there. When she was in there and we're talking about the paperwork, she's like, "I'm having this headache. Let me go to the room and can I take some medication?" I'm like, "Well, what kind?" "You can't take anything that's going to alter your state of mind, because we don't want you to be open to an attack or an attachment or anything." And so she was like, "I'm going to take just some Advil." She goes, and excuse my language, but shit hit the fan really fast. I mean, she became under attack, and she's about 120 pounds. She's a very tall woman. It took 6 of us to carry her from the 3rd floor to the bottom to the 1st floor, and she headbutted one of the investigators. She almost broke my case manager's arm. She had dug her arm into my arm, and I mean, her nails went in, and I felt where it punctured my skin. The cops got involved. I mean, it was really bad. And I tell people, and I was live during this process, and some people were like praying about it. Some people were like, "How dare you be live while this is happening?" I'm like, "Listen, I'm not showing her face. I'm not gonna put her on blast like, oh, I want attention. I'm just showing people that this is a real occurrence. These things really happen. Maybe you think that, oh, because you don't believe it doesn't exist. This is a real thing that goes down, and whether you believe it or not, it's going to happen." And so we're all about awareness and education. But the point I'm trying to make is that you got to make sure you need to be prepared. If before you go into a case, make sure that you cover all your bases, because if not, and things happen, there's so much that can occur that can hurt you, the client, and anybody else around you. You know what I mean? So you got to be
the legal paperwork
real safe.
First off, kudos to you for actually having your paperwork in line, because I mean, we operate our team like an actual business. So it is a licensed business in the state of Arizona. And for many reasons, it is that. This isn't, and I think the biggest problem that people are seeing too much stuff on YouTube, they're seeing too much stuff on TV, and they're not realizing that these teams, we're becoming more of a business oriented, as investor profession, if you will. I hate to say profession, but I know people are getting pissed from that. I don't really care, but I mean, it's real though. I mean, the reality is that if you aren't having these people sign liability waivers, and then like signing off the fact that you're going to be either using their image, or you could possibly be because you have people turning their like case files over to TV shows without getting permission from the families, without getting permission from the locations in which they were filmed. I mean, this is liability, and teams are just thinking that it's just like kind of like This is kind of a fun thing, which it can be, but you need to
post it on YouTube.
have your eyes and cross your T's first. So kudos to you for doing that, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. And it's a real thing. Except the cops got involved. Because people were calling the cops on us because when we were carrying her downstairs, my thing was, God forbid, she jumps off that third floor balcony and kills herself, and that gets pinned to us. You know what I mean? And I don't want to have that on my conscience, even though by law, legally, we were protected with the paperwork. I just don't want to have that on my conscience. So, people thought we were kidnapping her, which we weren't. The cops got involved. I said, listen, we had the video proof upstairs. Come with us. We'll show you. They saw, and they're like, do you want to press charges on her because, she did that, she pretty much assaulted us. But I said, no, we don't want to press charges because this is what we know we're getting ourselves into. We're here to help people, and sometimes things go crazy, comes with the gig, but it is what it is. But I tell people all the time, please be safe, because a blink of an eye, man, and all hell breaks loose. And if you're not prepared mentally, you're done. So taking a step back from that real fast. So growing up, man, I know at one time, the paranormal field was kind of like you can't talk about the paranormal that much. It was kind of like a hush thing. So one time you talked about it, they'll shut you down real quick. So for the shows that did exist back then, what were some shows that you liked watching?
Definitely. Sightings was one of them back in the day.
Oh man, that's my favorite, bro.
Sightings was awesome because you could be able to get some. It would scare the crap out of me, because I'd be watching
that intro, man.
And I'm watching it, trying to get answers. But Sightings, Unsolved Mysteries, those were two of the big ones that I would watch growing up. That like you'd be able to kind of get like some of your information. Then later on, the show Most Haunted came out. I think it was like.
Oh, I remember that.
6 years.
I wasn't watching any of those shows, so I don't know.
Which then like hope in the field. No, I'm just kidding. But those were some of the shows like I'd say in the 90s and stuff that I was able to actually see to kind of emulate. But every once in a while back then they'd have like that around the holidays they'd have like they interview like ghost hunters, and back then it was more or less we heard ghost hunter, it was Ed and Lorraine Warren, so it was always usually an interview with them talking about all their numerous cases and stuff. But I mean I never got into this, nor did Marie. I didn't think TV was like that. I didn't think that was the furthest thing from my mind. I just thought like, wow, like how blessed do I feel that I've experienced this enough to where I can bless other people by giving them answers to their questions. And then like all of a sudden I remember like we got a call from Los Angeles for like My Ghost Stories, which, not the best show in the world, but I kind of had a bad experience with it. Said I would never come back ever again to do TV again. And then one day I come home from the sheriff's office and I get a phone call from Jeff Blanger. And I'm like, hey, Zach just watched your video down at Goldfield Ghost Town in Apache Junction, Arizona, and he wants to come out and investigate. He wants you there. And I'm like, this is crap, dude. No, Zach watching and I'm like, no way, And I'm like, I wasn't even going to call him back. When I called him back, and it was legit. And they're like, well, do you want to go on Ghost Adventures? And we're like, yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, dude, let's go on Ghost Adventures and show our stuff. And we did. And then I really wasn't happy with how that worked out.
I did. I thought it was funny.
Oh, you loved it because
be honest. I mean, because a lot of times, I like, for example, here in Texas, there's certain locations they came out to, and whenever I ask people, whether it's the owner of the place or whatever, I'm like, how was Zach Bagans realistically in real, while you were there on set, or when you talked to him, was he like a diva? Was he, real cool, down to earth? Like, how was this guy? And everyone kind of gave me mixed things. But in your opinion, from your perspective, how was he? Whether he was on camera or off camera, how was this guy?
I think Marie and I have different opinions about it, a little bit, slightly. We've worked with Ghost Adventures now. I don't know, like five or six times we've been on their show, I think. Between that and Aftershocks, they had the segue to the show. What is it called? Follow-up show or something. Now, when I did Aftershocks, at first I was kind of like I was going through a really dark place, with a haunting of my own, and I felt as if my message wasn't getting out there. My message, was just kind of falling short. But in retrospect, looking back at it, and the things that weren't shown on the show, I have to tell you, with my experience, Zach went above and beyond to help my family out in ways that, like, TV did not show it. You know what I'm saying? And,
Yeah.
and
Well, that's good.
done that to paint him in this positive light, but they didn't. And when the team came out to our own home, and they ran a whole bunch of tests for to see if he was psychic. My son was psychic, and they shared like, you know, that
Me and my son,
it was crazy. They put a partition wall up, and Marie would hold something in her hand, and then my son would say what was in her hand, and I think it was like
Wow.
2 he got right,
Yeah.
like, you know, but they didn't show that on the show. But aside from that, he got us in contact with a parapsychologist that's actually a medical doctor that
Okay.
works with kids.
With autism and stuff like
Yes,
that.
dude.
Yeah.
And I mean, and this person really took the time to break it down for us.
That's awesome,
and
man.
Jack didn't have to do that, and he did.
Yeah.
And like, I kind of harbored some bad feelings. If you see the video, the episode, you see me, my face is red, I'm sweating. I'm obviously very pissed off.
Yeah.
But we worked with him multiple times. He asked how our kid is doing. I mean, you know, I think that Marie gets a lot more screen time than I do. Because I have long explanations for like the paranormal, and Marie's is like pretty like precise, you know, and then her interview will get on there, and then mine won't. And I'll be like, "What the hell?" You know, like.
I will honestly say I do know a lot of people give Zach, especially everybody say, "Oh, Aaron's so cool." Aaron is cool. I will say that number one. He's one of the most funniest guys I've ever met. But Zach, I mean, one thing I'm gonna tell everybody: Zach is very business.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a businessman. I mean, look what he's came from. He was a paranormal investigator, did a documentary, got a TV show, pushed that TV show further and further, got his own, went out and bought merchandise. I mean, it's different stuff. Did a haunted museum. I mean, he does all this different stuff.
A lot of it might be like, I mean, people look at his way of investigating and they feel that their way is more superior. But like you said, he is very
he's very well. He's
good at drawing in people.
He is so business-like on a lot of stuff. Now, when people say, "Oh, he's very like arrogant," I'm gonna say one thing: Zach knows he's good looking. I mean, 100%. I've told him that he knows he's good looking, but I'm not gonna say he thinks, "Oh, no one, you know, can near him." I will say he's very he's germophobic. He don't really like touching people. I don't know if you've ever seen in a lot of his videos, he'll do fist pump with people. He really won't touch.
Should I tell the story what happened last time?
So, fun story.
Great, like Central Hotel in Yuma, one of the scariest, most historical places we've ever investigated. So, I mean, unbelievable, terrifying, right? Like malignant spirit. I mean, it was all there. It had everything. And you know, we show up and then we see the big crowd, so we know Zach's already there. So we come up and I see Zach and he's like, "Hey Jay, how are you doing?" And I go to shake his hand. He goes, "Fist bump." Well, I'm like, "Okay." So then he walks behind me and he says, "Oh, Marie, how are you doing?" And gives her a hug. You know, oh, dude, no, but
like, I can see your germs.
I mean, honestly, will say I bonded. I mean, it ain't that. Oh, don't get me wrong. I do not have Zach on my cell phone or nothing like that. No. I mean, but when we do see each other, I mean, to be honest with you, he really, truly helped my son. And I'm very, very grateful as a mother that watched my son for almost 2 years wake up nightly in tears and screams. After when Zach came in here, he didn't have to do any of it, and he got us help for our son and didn't take the credit for it.
Yeah.
So,
so did your son have abilities?
What was that?
After all the tests they did you and your son come out with abilities as their conclusion?
Yeah, it appeared that way, that it was it wasn't like, I don't know what the percentage was. I don't know if they even gave us exactly.
Well, they did say, I don't call myself a medium or psychic or anything like that. I have tons of friends that are psychic and mediums, love them all. I will not call myself one of those. I do have abilities in a way, and that's one of the first times I really started knowing even more that I have abilities, and my son did too. So we were he's the one child that even if he's not in my home, if something is wrong with him, I know something's wrong.
They're very connected. So really what it showed is that they kind of share a mind together, which is like, it was really
good.
Cool, you know, and it was a unique experience that will, you know, if we had not happened, we definitely probably would have been like less fortunate than we are now. I mean, so he like I said, he's people see his shows and he's over dramatic as he investigates.
You gotta remember one thing about Ghost Adventures. It's a travel channel. It's actually a network.
Yeah.
Me and Jay
It's all
do
about the ratings.
Yep. No one's going to sit down and watch a TV show that just sits there and watches just regular or nothing, and we're just sitting there.
That's what we have YouTube for.
It's just they do dramatically do it. And I will honestly say, Zach reminds me of Jay. Jay's a dramatic investigator. So if a spider goes by, Jay screams like a ghost just tapped him on. And Zach reminds me of that. And that's what
Zach is like me, is where he gets very excited and wrapped up in the case, and he kind of forgets what's going on around him. And that's one thing I've always admired about him and the show. And let's be honest, dude, I do TV myself. This is the longest running paranormal show that's ever been on television in the history of television.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
So at the end of the day, whether we love him, hate him, or like him, this dude he's got some shit figured out. Let's just put it that way. And the whole
and the networks love him.
Aspect of what
but I will honestly say, Harley, nothing's demonic. Sorry.
Like the memes of him.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know. They think that he started with Travel Channel, but he really didn't. Do you know where he started at?
I know he did the documentary, but that's it.
I saw that documentary.
Yeah, he did the one with he tried to start with Sci-Fi, and he did the thing. Yeah, he started with Sci-Fi, and then of course at that time he had the low end equipment, that everybody else has, and then that didn't work, and then so Sci-Fi picked him up, and it's like, boom, he just went all out. So
he upgraded.
Right, because at that time all we had was Ghost Hunters and Paranormal State, I think.
Yeah, it was very minimal shows. Yeah,
I know when we first started dating and into our first marriage, we faithfully watched Paranormal State and
man.
The college kids.
We were constantly watching those.
And these are great because back then I didn't know what I was doing in the late 1990s. I used disposable cameras, and every time I saw a piece of dust on my lens, I thought it was a freaking ghost. So you learn by watching people who have better equipment and better understanding and more experience out there in the field investigating. So, but one group and one show I've always loved was Paranormal State. Obviously
that was a good show.
Cast member or one of the cast members wasn't all that great. But seems like he's changing his life around now, and shit happens, and people, sometimes even the best of us have to go through it.
I always say put some parts of Ghost Adventures and parts of Ghost Hunters together. That would be the perfect paranormal TV show.
Yeah.
You can edit them.
Yeah.
Well, when Nick Groff, when he left Ghost Adventures, and he started his show with that Katrina woman. And he started inviting. I remember he invited Grant to be on the show. I was like, wait a second, what's going on? I thought it was gonna be like this, foreign members making the show, but of course it didn't happen that way. I was so excited for a second, but then it didn't happen.
I was a fan of Paranormal Lockdown. I've always been a fan of Katrina because of Paranormal State. I think she's a well-rounded investigator. I always saw something in her, even with Paranormal State, on her approach to investigating.
Yeah, you watch her now.
Yeah, no, I just enjoy her as an investigator. I think she does a really good job. So
I don't really watch paranormal TV. I don't even know the last TV show of ours I've watched. I just know how it does anymore. I just can't watch it anymore, to be honest with you.
I think the last show
I listen to the radio shows from the paranormal teams and everybody like that. I do a lot of that. I love promoting people's events and stuff like that. But TV,
it's really good.
Yeah, not like that.
There was a time when with Katrina and what's his name, the Osborne son, what's his name, Jack.
Yeah.
When they had that one episode, man, I got so upset, man. And I don't know if you saw the episode. I forgot where they were at, man. And there was a moment where I was just so angry, bro, because they're on screen and Jack is like kind of like hanging out by like this wall or whatever. And I never forget. And I don't know if I'm sure if I saw it, I know other people have to have seen it. With his heel of his foot, he kicks the wall, like he like bumps it, and he's like, "Did you hear that?" And I don't know if he knew the camera was on him. And you see when he kicks it with his foot, and Katrina's like, "Yeah, I heard that." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like that just blew my mind. And I told my team about it. I was like, "I cannot believe this just happened." And I lost all my respect. But again, it's a show. It is what it is, and I moved on from it, bro.
Ratings come first.
And it sucks when you're a part of those shows and you sign, and then the next thing you know, like the production goes a different route. We were filming a cameo on it was a partially scripted, comedic, like documentary series.
It was a TV.
What was it called? Unprotected.
Unprotected.
On
It was
Oxygen. Okay. And they called us in as expert ghost hunters, right? So we were getting all this activity in this.
And we're not experts.
Yeah. We were getting so much real
No one really is.
activity, and all of a sudden we sounded like, I don't know, like brick falling from the ceiling from the second floor to the floor.
Yeah.
So we all jumped, run out of the room, and then the production crew has a Pelican case in front of her on the floor, and she's like, "I'm sorry, they told me to do it."
Oh,
and I'm like,
man.
all that real life stuff we were getting wasn't good enough, and then but yet this Pelican case was something you wanted, and they used that for the commercial break. And I'm like that.
And you can't go clean with that stuff because you're under contracts, right?
Yep.
Like you can't tell the.
What we do now?
I don't have
Wow, that's interesting. I know, Robert, you had some questions, man. He did some serious research, man. He wanted to.
Actually, I did. I slipped them in right now when we were during the beginning. There's bullet points.
You want?
Although I can't read my handwriting.
So no. So you know, when you're not doing paranormal, I know you do. You say you do these events, and you have one, I think, coming up. Do you want to talk to the viewers about your next event coming up? It's called VultureCon, or what is it called?
Vulture City Paracon.
Yes.
Part 2.
Yeah, can you share with the viewers what that is?
Yeah, so last year, for 2 years now, we've been working with Vulture City. It's a ghost town outside of Wickenburg, Arizona. It was kind of on our bucket list for me for years and years and years. And the pastor that used to be on our team, there was the one place he said, "You guys have to investigate." And unfortunately, we lost him. He passed away several years ago.
Oh, man.
Broke me. Today, it even kills me. But that was the one place he wanted us to go to. And sure enough, every time Marie and I would go out and film, or we do like appearances at other events or whatever, Marie would go get her hair done. Well, it turns out her hairdresser was friends with the caretaker on the property at the time. So it was like, finally, so I was like, yes. So we went there, we investigated. The place is just off the hook. 15 acres, over 13 haunted buildings, fully restored, off the grid, in the middle of the desert. I mean, anywhere from brothels to assay offices to cookhouses. I mean, it was just, it's just like
sounds beautiful.
Off grid, So it was just like a playground for us. And at the time they had dumped over $2 million into the actual town itself in restoration projects and weren't really getting any money back from it. And they wanted to rebuild and bring more buildings back into the property that were there originally. So we sit down with them and we're like, well, this is what we do. And we said we should start doing public tours and ghost hunts here. And then maybe we should do a paranormal conference. And they're like, well, what's that? So we sat down after about a month of talking. We came up with Vulture City Paracon. And the first year Paracon last year, there was over 250 people there for a first year paranormal conference.
Oh, wow.
Pretty good, So we had people coming from California, Utah, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Florida, Washington, all over the place that were coming down to the Paracon. It just worked, man. Like the people that we had selected to come out to be speakers were just good people, and they were carefully sought after. It's just like it just started everyone word of mouth kind of, right? So it's like all the time I'm like on social media, like I see people talking about it, and I'm like, wow, like we helped do that. That's pretty cool. This year we have it's the first weekend of October, and our dear friend and Lorraine's nephew, Mr. John Zaffis himself, the Godfather of Paranormal, is going to be there on Saturday. That's
amazing, man.
He's going to be out there.
Wow.
Sarah, one of your guys' guests, Sarah, she's actually going to be out there with us too.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that. Good. That's amazing. Yeah.
We have Mark. He's actually the one that does Salem Con.
Okay.
I honestly say one of the best Paracons ever.
Absolutely.
I will say ever. Mark them did amazing at that con, but he's coming out. And we're very excited. Sam.
About true.
Yep. He does actually Mass Paracon.
Yes.
And we're actually going to be out there at the end of September.
Yep.
But he's coming out to Vulture City Paracon too.
The following weekend.
Yep, the following weekend. And then we have Vanessa Hogel. She's coming on, and we're excited about having her out there. We have Chris Sanders. We have Christina George. We have Matt and Gotley from Haunted Roots. We have Bill and Chris Reap. Michelle LeBaron, I love her to death. She's like my sister. Lisa, she's actually she's coming out. We have Planet Paranormal. Southern Gypsies are coming out. Mike Casey, Keith Bailey, one of your guys' guests. Doug, I can't always say it, Carnahan, and then Elaine. And then we're even doing workshops.
We have Colin and Peyton from Paranormal Files, the YouTube channel.
I met them. I met them in person at a Paranormal Fest here in town.
Oh, okay.
That all sounds wonderful. A shout out to all of them.
Yes. And then we even have some workshops where some like other people that do other stuff in the paranormal, like Charlie. Charlie, he's coming out, going to be doing tarot reading cards. We have Adam. He's actually in a wheelchair and going to be speaking how he does paranormal investigation in a wheelchair and everything. So Lori Hines, Parazone. I mean, we have Todd. I guess what does he call the house?
There was like the haunting in Scottsdale. It was an episode on Ghost Adventures that was featured. There were this demonic entity within his home, and we've kind of been talking and whatnot. And we thought it'd be kind of cool to bring someone that was like a homeowner or a business owner or something that's been on Ghost Adventures to come out and speak on behalf of what their opinions were on how it all went down. And he's very honest, super cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
Patty,
get their perspective.
Coming out too.
Yeah,
on there
Patty, that's on Ghost Adventure. She's coming out to do readings, and we have Jeff Woodland. We're doing our very first UFO sighting.
Skywatch. Yeah.
Nice.
And then our own
Wonderful.
team, the Cops crew, is going to be talking as well.
So
that's awesome.
So it's a 3-day event. Last year we started on Friday. So the meet and greet's actually held in Vulture City. So you're able to get your food. You're able to walk around the town at nighttime before the day of the investigation. You're able to meet with all
have some fun
and the different investigators. There's live music, and it was well received last year. We're doing it exactly the same this year.
Added a couple of things.
Just added a few little things. Saturday, Sunday, both days are packed with lectures, workshops, and vendors throughout the entire day. Saturday night's the ghost hunt. Sunday night's the UFO Skywatch. And if you come early on Friday, you can actually do a ghost tour and hunt with us early before the meet and greet.
Man, that's amazing,
good.
man. That's awesome.
Kind of into the town.
Yeah, I want to say I think it was 2018 or 2017, I believe it was. We went to our first Paranormal Fest. We got invited as a vendor, and the people who organized it, they're called Curious Twin. They do tours and they do paranormal stuff. And we were a vendor, but the way they did it was, it was kind of like free at the door kind of thing. Let me tell you, man, it got so packed because of that reason. It got so packed that people, the location where it was at, it's like Central San Antonio downtown area. It's in a historic neighborhood called the King William.
There's a video
King
of
Williams District. I mean, it was so crazy. People came from all over Texas to come to this event. And I mean, the line was so long, man. From the front door, it wrapped around the building, went down the street, past the train tracks to the highway. I mean, it was like 2 different lines. I mean, it was people were in the lines for like 6 hours waiting, trying to get into the place. And I mean, Colin was there. Him and I guess it's his girlfriend. She was there. Yeah. And it was funny because when I seen him before in the past, he looked like a short guy, and I meet him in person, and he's tall as hell. He's a real tall dude. I was like, "Hey, you look short in the video, and you're like really tall." But he was across from us, but I mean, it was so packed, man. People were stealing our stuff, like because we have here in San Antonio, the thing that's big here that's known it's Fiesta, and they have the this Fiesta that's every year, and so we had these Fiesta medals that we sell. And we had them lined up on the table, and people were coming in. It was so packed that they were just grabbing them, and we made the mistake of just having them out, and they were just taking them. And we didn't know we couldn't keep track of everything. People were just grabbing stuff and just going. But it was crazy, man.
Oh, that's pretty dope. Yeah, well, and when you have a good people that are putting stuff on, and it's for like a good cause, and like you surround yourself with the right people. I mean,
well, plus Texas always goes big. My dad,
of course,
is from Texas, so
nice.
I'm half Texas. So, and my family more or less came from Brownsville, Texas. So.
Okay, yeah, that's down south. Yeah.
I like you more already.
Yeah, that's amazing. And this year they're gonna, and then last year they had it again, but it was a little different the setup, and it was at at a really historically haunted place called the Black Swan, and Ghost Adventures went there to do an investigation, and we were there, man. But oh my God, let me tell you, man, the Texas heat, and you guys are in Arizona, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So I mean, you know how I'm telling you,
Absolutely.
no one knows the heat better than Texas, and of course Arizona, man. But
Yeah, it's
we
terrible.
were
I think Arizona gets dry heat, right? Not
Yeah.
humidity.
Not
No,
1 month
really.
a year. That's it.
When the monsoon comes, you get the humidity. So, but that's it.
yeah, people were coming to us, man, and they were like trying to talk to us, and I wanted to do my very best to just be out there and be like, what's going on? And I was sitting there, man, and I felt like my skin was just melting off, man. It was so bad.
You're like water.
And they were like, hey, Mike, you gotta go do your speaking thing.
We pushed
I
it back
couldn't do
to
it.
October because of the heat.
Well, I will say, everybody says, "Oh, you guys got dry heat." No matter what, when it's 115 degrees,
It's hot.
Oh,
it's hot, and you just
Hot
want
as hot.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. It definitely is hot. So when you're not doing paranormal, or you're not doing your events, what do you do, away from the paranormal, to just, like normal life stuff? What do you do?
That's a good question. Today we were at Vulture City just checking people in for day tours.
Well, I'm honest with you, with this whole COVID thing, for so long we were stuck in our house. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a lockdown. A couple weekends ago, we were finally being able to go out to Vulture and actually go out there on the weekend and volunteer and actually assist the owners and do day tours. I enjoy it because I'm getting out of the house. I'm
Okay.
home 5 days a week. Now I became a teacher, and I never wanted to be a teacher. I do not
nice.
like it. Yeah, he's a senior, and I do not like it. I honestly never knew he had that much homework in my life. I mean, oh my gosh, yeah. So, but
What's wrong with these kids today?
But I mean, to be honest with you, one thing I do outside of I collect antiques. So
okay.
I love
That's
going
beautiful.
antique shopping. He usually will purposely drive by everything, but I have an eye for it all, and I'll go back to it eventually.
Window shopping.
Wow.
It brings us into haunted ghost towns.
Oh, what?
And into like difficult to get away from it. I don't know that we ever. I don't know. I mean, and I guess that is kind of a bit of a problem. I think we should probably have other hobbies or something.
I have other hobbies. You don't. I go to concerts like that with my sister. You don't like to do much.
I'm kind of boring. Yeah, I'm kind of boring.
If it ain't ghost hunting and stuff, or
really
going to
interesting.
events, honestly, you don't really
I like
like
lecturing, but that's about the paranormal.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's really. I don't really have much of a life outside of this. I probably should.
And so, what would you, just kind of, if like, let's say your child, you have one child, right? Correct.
We have 3 total.
Okay, 3. So let's say your children, once they become of age and they came to you saying, hey, you know what, we want to be in the paranormal. We want to, whether they want to be solo investigator or have a team, whatever the case is, but they came to you and said, listen, I feel like I want to, continue this, kind of like, you pass the torch to them. Would you be for it? Would you be against it? How would you kind of, approach that matter for those parents out there, for, let's say, those other, individuals now who their children want to do that? What kind of advice would you gonna give for that?
For me, I will honestly say all my children are adults now. To be honest, my youngest son is 18 years old.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I have a 23-year-old that's autistic, and then I have a 26-year-old son. I will honestly say my 26-year-old son will have nothing to do with it. He supports us and say yay, but no one nothing to do with it. My 23-year-old, honestly, I try to keep him out of it as much as I can. With the help of Zach, like we talked about, he assisted us with getting him help and stuff. He's doing a lot better. I don't want to bring him around stuff like that again. I try to keep him out of all that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong, it still happens, but there's ways that we get around it. Our 18-year-old, I will say, since he was very young, always was very interested.
Okay.
I would not allow it. Jay had a routine every night. He had to do like a prayer and little holy water on my son's door and make sure nothing enters his room.
Funny story here. Okay, so let's talk about that 18-year-old. When he was about 15, for about a year, he'd been helping us out with public events. So he'd come out and he would act as security, right? So he would come out and kind of help us, like, making sure we have our eyes on everybody. Well, one evening it was time to pack up at the old Sunkist factory. It's a 100,000 square foot facility in Mesa, Arizona. Super haunted. We've been working out there for like 6 years now, I think. And I'm grabbing all the equipment. I go into the basement. It's completely pitch black. And I'm trying to find all this equipment. Well, I kept hearing someone talking. And it was my son at the age of about 14, 15. He had one of my recorders, my audio recorders. And he was, hey, if there's anybody here, can you make a noise for me? And I'm like, what the hell? And I see that. And then I realized, oh, my God, my wife is going to kill me.
Wow.
So, no, you can't do that. Why are you touching that? Dad, you do it too. And then, like, long story short, we slowly have been acclimating him to investigations. Not participate in residential investigations because he's not ready for that. And a lot of larger scale investigations we don't allow him to participate in. He does spend a lot of his time out at Vulture City with us. He is becoming a pretty decent investigator, I have to say. But he will tell you today that when I'm dead, he's taking it all. So
he's taking our business, and I'm like, okay.
He wants to carry that
good for you.
forward when we're gone.
I will tell any parent that's in the paranormal and they have kids in it, you know what? You can't stop a kid to do something. If they're really interested in it, I honestly tried to stop my son. I really did. But to be honest with you, if that's something they're very interested in and determined to do, they're going to do it. Especially teenagers, sorry to tell you. But you need to teach them. I mean, like we literally talk about the dangers of the paranormal, and there are so many that a lot of people don't talk about. Everybody talks about the fun stuff and all this stuff. And I'm not talking about demonic stuff, demons or all that. There's other dangers in the paranormal field when you're out there that.
Like crazy clients.
Yeah, crazy clients. Yeah. I mean, rattlesnakes when you're out in the woods or,
Oh, yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah, I mean, a building that has, stuff in it that could cause you to have lung problems the rest of your life.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so many different things that can happen, and we really talk to our son about all these. And he gets, Lily, I preach to him. He preaches to him almost daily about it. So that's what I would recommend. Another thing is we started taking our son to like different kinds of like events and stuff like that, and letting them to hear other paranormal investigators and hear their stories as well. Because even though Jay and I are parents, other paranormal investigators have totally different views, and a lot of them are better than ours even. I mean, that's how we learn. Each investigator can learn so much from every other paranormal investigator. So
definitely.
Everybody.
And so what kind of things do you go through as far as to protect yourselves from anything coming home with you, or do you cleanse yourself when you do an investigation? Like, what kind of things do you take? The steps do you take to be safe?
Back in the early days, like we weren't really into the whole paranormal protection, I guess you could say. Yeah. And I think a lot of it was because we lacked faith in the process of that. So if you lack faith in something, it's almost worthless. So we found ourselves trying to follow these, I don't know, like these cleansing rituals that for me didn't mean anything. So they didn't work.
Exactly.
So like for us, we've always kind of said, hey, we don't really use paranormal protection. Now, as we've gotten older, I think that the protection that we use is our knowledge. Is if we're not feeling well, if we're having a bad day, if we're running behind, there's a certain series of events going on that are kind of taking us away from being somewhere at a certain kind of time, then we might kind of look back at that and go, okay, we've seen this happen before. What does this mean? Our faith in God, I guess, is our protection, and our faith is what leads us. And that's really the only form of protection that we could really put our true faith into.
I will honestly say we used to go to all the events, amazing friends. I would come home with my purse. I I don't know how many different kinds of crystals, oils, sages, all the feathers, all this stuff. And everybody's like, well, I'm trying to protect you. You know what?
She's not joking though. Like her whole
my bag would be full of this stuff. I'm like,
where did these come from?
Man, yeah. And I'm like, don't get me wrong. That stuff works for a lot of people. 100% believe that it works for other people. For us, it doesn't because we don't have the faith in it, to be honest.
The right tool for the right situation.
Yeah. So
we've kind of always prided ourselves in being haunted survivors. Like we weren't just haunted before. We're haunted today. It's not our house that's haunted. It's not a particular artifact that makes our home haunted. I've been haunted my entire life. I'm still haunted today. There's things that I go through in this home right now and other homes that we've lived in to where, I go months without sleeping very well, where I'm waking up in the middle of the night, screaming, yelling, fighting these things. I've been through the hell and back, but we like to use our trials and tribulations in the paranormal as a testimony to our clients and kind of like, hey, we've done this. You can make it through it. But we kind of try to put things like realistic, like in perspective. Like if you're hearing doors slamming, at the end of the day, it's just a freaking door slam, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, be practical.
It's just footsteps. The more you feed this energy, it's just going to continue to grow and manifest itself. The more that you engage in that fear response is what we've learned from the field. And I believe in things that we joke around, jokingly call them Mr. Potato Head ghosts. Is that we kind of create our own, in forms of like poltergeist, right? And thing in the world, we kind of like, that walking down the stairs is someone that's upside down, disfigured, and it's a demon from hell. When in reality, it's just like, nothing at all. It's probably the wind. But then at the end of the day, on the worst end, maybe there's just some type of like paranormal phenomenon you have in your house, but it's just residual. But if you keep feeding it with all these negative like thoughts, it just gets worse. And that's kind of where we become more paranormal counselors than we have investigators. So we spend a lot of our time these days doing stuff like this, video Skype or whatnot with our clients, because we can't. We can't get to them all.
I remember my last conversation with Grant. We were just sitting there chatting, and we were talking about Grant Wilson from the Ghost Hunters, both the old one and new one. But
shout out to Grant.
I will honestly say we were just sitting there talking about how we do paranormal investigating and all this stuff. And I was talking to him about counseling and stuff. He goes, that's right. He goes, you know what? I love doing this. Take your client outside of their home, go to Starbucks with them or go somewhere else and just get them out of that location for a little bit and say, do you still feel that? Just get their mind off the situation and realize, like, see, it's not affecting you that bad because right now we're talking about something else and you haven't brought it up. So that's what we do a lot about is counseling. And I mean, and that's why I said there are people in the field that they are so amazing about different ways that you can deal with the stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot to reach out to.
This all came about because we were much younger. Like you're always looking for that smoking gun. You want that audio, that video, and that photograph. And I remember the day when we caught all three. We validated a haunting. And we were like, we had the smoking gun. We show it to the client, and we were like feeling all badass, and they were like, okay, well, now what? And I looked at Marie and I said, oh, shit. So we like to say we're the now what's now. We like to be the now what's. Not so much focus on getting that photograph or that audio piece or whatever. Yeah, it's part of it. But these people live in these houses 24 hours a day for, sometimes up to 30 or more years. For us to expect that we're going to find it on a 6-hour investigation a couple times a month, it's not very realistic sometimes. So do that now. It's really be personable with people and just talk with them. So
definitely. And we ourselves, we've had some pretty crazy cases, and we had one that we worked on for so long, man. And I remember when the last time we were there, the second before last, we left the investigation. We have a cleanser who cleanses the place. So Kayla's cleansing the location. I go home and mind you, I as a kid I had anxiety, but it just kind of went away. After that, the investigation, man, something attached itself to me, and I got so bad. And I tell people this is a very real occurrence. These things really happen, and it got to the point where I lost my job because of I felt like, imagine the worst possible scenario of anxiety and just, mental breakdown. I mean, I lost my job. I couldn't even drive. Like from my job to my house, it's like 10 minutes. it took me 3 hours to get home because of how bad I was. Like I would vomit as I'm driving. I'm just vomiting out the window. And I mean, I'm like, what is going on with me? Like, where did this come from? But that was the last place I was at. And when I go to these locations, I'm very mindful. I'm very aware of my surroundings, and I take this very seriously. But no matter how prepared you are, things can still happen. And it got so bad to where I ended up losing like 48 pounds because all I did was just vomit and vomit. I was trying eating food, and I couldn't even swallow my food down, man. I mean, it was so bad. Constantly calling 911, and I went through just this breakdown, man, and it took me so long to kind of get out of that. I'm not saying again that it's because of that case. Who knows what caused it, but that was the last place I was at before it happened. And I tell people, you got to be very, very careful because we can go a lifetime trying to understand this and still not have a definite answer to how all this really works. But it was just a crazy experience, man, for sure.
And sadly, like people who suffer from anxiety because of the paranormal, they always try to find a cure, like an all-out cure. But the truth is, there is no cure for anxiety.
True.
My sister suffered from it, from like she got depression from it,
Right.
and we were told from the doctor that there is no miracle cure. She's gonna live with this for her entire life.
Right.
And the only thing you can do is try to control the levels of how bad it gets.
Wow.
And so here's a question, man. I know you've been on several appearances on several shows and stuff, but what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about people who investigate on TV?
I think the biggest misconception is that people they view us as individuals who've sold out possibly, or aren't telling the truth, aren't being honest. Marie and I have a very good reputation with many different networks and some really great production companies that love us for our honesty. And it's not just Haunted Case Files. I'm talking about other shows we've been on where they're like, wow, like I can't believe you won't say this. And and we won't. I mean, I remember we were filming something a couple of years ago, and the director, and he's a really good friend of mine too. And he's like, he kept telling Marie, he's like, so what would have happened if you would have stayed longer? What would have happened if you'd have done this? What would have happened if you'd have done that? And Marie finally looked at him and she says, I don't fucking know. Maybe we would have got more evidence. I don't know. But he was trying to coach her into saying, something awful would have happened or whatever. And people that know us that have worked with us in film and whatnot know that there is this shit we will not say, and there are things we will not do. And the important, in my opinion, you get caught lying one time or saying one thing dishonest, your credibility is ruined completely. I have worked years and way too long helping the clients that I serve to throw it all away for a freaking 15-minute spot on a TV show. That's bullshit. I don't do it myself. But I think a lot of people feel that, they're exaggerating or they're doing this or they're doing that. Now, what I will tell you is this. We do a lot of storytelling shows. On those storytelling shows, I have a guy that looks like freaking Nick Groff that plays me, which is pretty badass.
All the recreations.
Guys all like ripped out and shit and thin. And it's great, but it's not me, number one. So you always have to watch when you're watching these storytelling shows is listen to what the people are saying that actually went through it. Yeah. Instead of watching what you're seeing the actors go through on the screen, because sometimes it's much different. Let's just put it that way. I did an episode of
dramatization.
I did an episode of Paranormal Witness. It was entitled "The Jail" when I worked at the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and they were talking about one of the officers I worked with, how he got thrown across the room, and he was clearly saying on his interview, "I got shoved," but in the video that they're playing the reenactment, he got thrown like 30 feet across the jail cell. Completely not.
I don't know how many times in Haunted Case Files it shows Jay picking me up and carrying me out.
I never did that.
He's never picked my up. Wedding night did he pick me up?
Hey, wait, true story. So there's an episode on Haunted Case Files season 1. You were talking earlier about people going through like stuff not really being prepared, right? Yeah. That was one for me. It was a case where it was my mother-in-law's house. All of a sudden, her house is haunted. I've been there 1,000 times. This is bullshit. It's not going to happen. I went there with a bad attitude. It was the most active location I've ever been to in my entire life that night when we went there to investigate. Marie actually lost consciousness, stopped breathing. My film guy is rolling in her life while she's non-responsive and purple. And I'm like, why are you filming? And he said, if you told me that if I stopped filming, you'd fire me. And I'm like, dude. So then instead of me doing something, he actually picked her up and walked her out of the condo And when she crossed the threshold, she started breathing again.
Oh,
but like
wow.
that carried her. I never picked her up, dude. I was too scared. I was already freaking out, going in circles, like, oh my god, she's dying, you know.
Wow.
But so always be prepared.
Good.
And so, you know, if you can, if you know, both, you know, whether it's yourself or, you know, both of you guys, you know, in regards to the paranormal, if you can go back to, let's say a younger self, you know, your younger self in the past, when you first got into the field or first found that love for the field and knew you know, you wanted to be a part of it, you know, what advice would you give to yourself, the current you going back to your past you, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself to be patient and to slow down. Because I think I got into this field running, and I think that it left me unprepared more than one time, too many times, and it left me open to almost losing people in my life.
Oh, wow.
You know, like including my wife, you know, and things we've been through in the field. Like I've thought I've lost my wife on multiple occasions because of stuff, and I've seen her in a possession. I've dealt with a lot of things, and had I been more patient and more grounded in my faith, I think that these things probably wouldn't have happened. So my old self would be slow down and be patient. Yeah, for me, that would have to be what it is.
Mine would be, honestly, is be open. I will say when we first started doing the field, we had this little I had a cookie cutter outlook of what a paranormal
Gotcha.
team was supposed to be. You know, we were all of them were cops on our teams, firefighter, military things, and everybody had to be Christian. I mean, everybody had to believe in God. Well, when we started doing all these cases, we started finding people that, you know, were Wiccans and believed in Buddhists, and
the funniest thing ever for me was
devil worshippers, you know, all that.
Wait, you have a demon in your house and you're a Satanist? For me, because I was uneducated at the time. This is early on, you know, I didn't know. But like, you know, you're right. That's huge.
I mean, I honestly think you need to educate yourself and really be open. Now our team is open to so many different. Our team has all different backgrounds, and I think that's what a team should be about. I don't think you should focus, because the world is not all the same.
Yeah,
it would be
exactly.
a boring world.
It's the same with me.
I mean, and I enjoy having all different. Jay and I totally will say we do believe in God, but you know what? One of my best friends is a devil worshiper. I mean, you know, or Satanist. I sorry, he hates it when I say that. A Satanist. He gets mad when I say. So I know he'll be happy I said that. I will honestly say to be honest with you, I'm almost close to actually saying I'm, you know, a Wiccan. I'm in a way. My mom's not too happy if she's watching this. She's probably gonna smack me in my head.
They're good people.
That's you know, one that don't understands it. So I mean, I just think you have to be open to everything. And that's what I would tell my.
That was our biggest deficit in our handicap in the beginning, was our just narrow-mindedness and unwillingness to like branch out. So people that we don't have information about something, we just find someone who does. I mean, that's why I said we have so many connections with different paranormal teams throughout all the different states. Just people.
I mean, and people. I mean, and that's the best way. I mean, I wish I would have told my old self that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's with me, because I'm not ashamed to admit I'm not a Christian. I don't do the Jesus thing. But when I first joined Mike's team, you know, I was a little bit worried, said, okay, maybe I shouldn't tell them I don't do that, because they do the prayer, the protection prayer at the beginning. But when we do that, I just have a moment of silence. They do that, like holy water and everything. You know, I'm practical. Use what works. If any protection is better than none. But you know,
I will also say I will not say I'm a Christian, to be honest with you. I don't really care for that word anymore. After so many years of being in the paranormal field, that's pretty. I just say I believe in God. I don't do the church thing. Sorry, my mom hates that, but I will not go to a church. I think they're the most judgmental people in the whole world. A lot of our family members, I love you all, but you're very judgmental. So
I do a whole other deity with me. So
I think the field kind of opens you up, whether you can still stay founded in your Christian faith, but then still have a better understanding of how this world works and death and whatnot. It kind of puts you in a weird spot. It gets confusing at some point, I think, for every investigator, especially if you're religious just even any kind of religious going into, it doesn't matter what, where you're kind of like, oh, you kind of get shook at like a couple years into it, like, like, you know, because you start seeing stuff, you know, that you just can't
definitely.
I remember one of our cases, we were doing a ghost hunt, and we had somebody come out and do a spirit board thing or something like that, wasn't it? And we had a local person, and I'm not gonna say names or anything because I hate drama. I don't call people out. I hate drama. But they came out and they had signs and they're picketing us, our event, saying, "We're praying for you. We're praying for you." Oh, thank you. I love people praying for me.
Yeah, one of the cities we used to live in, like the whole city turned on us. We were working out of the building.
Wow.
Because we didn't conform to their like religious group.
Yeah, they were saying we were Satanists.
But they were telling us they were going in circles around our event because we were doing a seance. Like I was using old world techniques versus new world technology event. That's what the whole event was based on, to see what is what. And it was misconstrued by the public, and we actually had protesters, and they kept saying they were praying for us. And I didn't know at first. I didn't know they were there for us. I was like, well, thank you, bro. Like, I appreciate that. Yeah. You know, and then I found out, oh my God, they're here for us. Like, I can't believe this. So,
you're like, say what?
I'm not that guy. You do what you want.
Yeah, we there was an event one year. I believe it was like 2017, I believe. And there was this, you know, a part of town here in San Antonio. It's called the West Side. And that's more so, you know, people know it's like almost like the lower, you know, income, you know, part of San Antonio. And there's a program that they want to give back to the neighborhood, you know, because there's a lot of violence, you know, anywhere you go is violence, but more so that part of town. And so, you know, they're getting, you know, different programs throughout San Antonio, Texas, to come together to kind of give back to the community. And I was like, look, you know, I know we're a paranormal team and people have, you know, they stay kind of like look down on us and stuff. I said, but, you know, I would love to just, you know, educate people, because no matter where you're at in the world, I mean, if there's activities going to happen, and, you know, I love to educate people, and I love to educate myself first, because I can't just go talk to anybody if I'm not educating myself. True, and so, you know, we're all about bringing awareness. And so everybody was excited for us, all the people who work there. And the main lady who she was not even from that program. She was working through like the housing system here in San Antonio. She will go to the meetings and they would do this voting system. And so everybody who was there, they did this voting, like, who wants MPS to be here? Everyone said yes. The main lady, who was not even a part of this program, was like, I outvote all of you guys. And I don't want those devil worshippers here. I'm like,
the veto vote.
Like, wait a second. I'm not a devil worshiper. I said, you know, that we're nothing like that. And the lady's like, I'm going to call you from my personal phone. I'm like, why are you calling me from your personal phone? That's kind of weird. Why not call me from your work phone? And of course, because the phone calls are recorded, she wanted to talk to me off the record. You know what I mean? And she was like, you know, and it came out that she was, you know, she herself was a Christian woman. And she was like, you know, if it was up to me, I would have only churches a part of this program. I wouldn't have nobody here except for the church. And I'm like, yeah, but, you know, just because you have your beliefs, I'm not knocking you for your beliefs. I said, you know, I'm not this holy roller myself. I mean, my faith in God is very strong. You know, right. I pray to God all the time. I said, but I never rub it in anybody's face. I said, you know, because, you know, I know what we do is not, you know, in any way, shape, or form relevant to what you do. I said, but, you know, we're willing to, you know, donate money or whatever we need to do to help the community as well. And she just kept telling me, I'm giving you 1 minute to defend yourself on why you should be a part of this event. I'm like, what? I'm like, you know what? I'm like, you know what? Forget this crap. I'm not going to deal with this. You know what I mean? And she basically outvoted everybody who was there. She was like, I outvote everybody, and MPS will never be a part of our programs, because she was saying everybody, hey, they're devil worshippers. And I'm like, you know, that it's sad that people can say something and then everyone just believe them. You know what I mean? And I can't defend myself. So I just kind of disconnected myself from that people. And I was like, I will never go back. But it's ridiculous, man.
We try to stay out. I mean, that's a big thing I will say about, I mean, it ain't just the paranormal field. It's any field you're in. I mean, honestly, it's Facebook, it's social media, it's TV. There's a lot of drama. People putting other people down, judgmenting, and all that kind of stuff.
Politics and religion.
The number one, I will honestly say, we have always tried to stay equal. We will not let anyone tell us who we should be friends with. I'm going to let you know, no one's going to tell me who I could be a friend with. Yeah. I mean, no. I don't care if you have beef with them. That's your problem. That's your. I didn't have a problem with them. Well, I mean, that's how I've always looked at stuff. Don't get me wrong. We've lost people in the past. I mean, friendships. But I will say, most of our friends, I mean, everybody we work with, colleagues, friends, all that kind of stuff, usually are very acceptable of us we're just a no drama. We don't we don't want to be in the middle of it. I mean,
there's been plenty of times where we could have gone online and just blasted people over this years we've been doing this.
Yeah.
And we have haters. We got like Facebook ninjas that, throw, like all kinds of
Trolls.
stuff on keyboards.
Yeah, trolls.
But like, I mean, when we get that, like it happens, but it's for every one piece of hate mail I get each week, I get about 20 of people saying, guys, thank you for what you're doing. I love what you and your wife are doing. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, I mean, that's cool. And if I didn't have the haters, then maybe I wouldn't feel like I was really doing something right. So still keeping people at the edge of their seat. And for all those haters out there that are like, expecting us to fail.
Actually,
I mean,
Nick Groff actually said, he goes, I guess if you have that, haters now, that means you somewhat made it. So it's like, hey, I mean,
there you go.
That's true.
What we said about it. I was like, you know what? If me and Jay could be the one person that can try to bring positive, and I'm not going to say there's times that sometimes I've gotten so aggravated at things and I'll post something on my Facebook, but it's very rare I ever do it. I never call friends and stuff, but I mean, there is that time where I'm done and I say something, but usually we honestly positive. I mean,
we always try to say, like John Zaffis always tells us, we always confide in him a lot because we have a lot of respect for him. And he says something that Ed and Lorraine would always talk about, which was what, like, Ed would get really pissed off at people. He would tell you stories about them, they was talking negative about him. And Lorraine would always say, take the higher road. So that's kind of like Marie and I's thing now.
Yeah.
Is like when she's pissed about something, I'll say, take the higher road.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
good.
Accumulated because I don't have time for that shit. Like, I'm not going to sit here and waste my time explaining or justifying. And we get a lot of stuff. Like, some of the hate mail is like, I've seen you on like 12 different shows, and these stories, they don't add up. And I'm like, well, let me break it down for you. Watch this episode. Watch this, and this. And that's my whole biography. Like, I'm not in order. So I got to tell you the way that they go for you to understand it. But people are constantly doing stuff like that.
I mean, then there's those ones that are just upset that we got on TV. We're not. I'm hoping. I love it seeing my friends on TV. Yeah. I mean, one of our friends, Brandon Elvis, got on Ghost Hunters.
Oh yeah.
So I'm so honored that we're friends with him, and he got on. Daryl. I mean, I am so excited that they're on Ghost Hunters. I mean,
exactly.
Keith Bailey, he got Paranormal 911. Keith Bailey on Paranormal 911. So excited. I would love to. Promote them. It's amazing. So, but there are some ones that just, want to say, and then they would start saying, oh, we carried you in a investigation. I'm like, I'm going to let you know, no one's ever carried me in an investigation. My own husband
glory hogs.
Me in an investigation.
Oh, even literally, too.
Yeah, see, I
no one's carried you up either.
I mean, the only person that could probably carry me is God, and that's it.
Yeah. And, one of the biggest things I could hate on is people like to come to me, and they're like, hey, Mike, I have this evidence I want to share with you. And one thing I tell them is this: if you're looking for me to tell you what you want to hear, you came to the wrong place. I'm not going to do that, and again, I can only tell you if you're bringing me one video, right, and nothing else, I can only give you as far as what I see in the video, and that's it. I said, unless I'm investigating and I'm there in person to experience it, it's a different ball game. I said, but if you're giving me one piece of your claiming it's evidence, I can only go off of what I see. And I'll tell them, and man, we were on a show one time, and I won't say the name of the individual of the show. And, we were on the show, and they were like, hey, can you check this picture that this team submitted to us? And the show was, they did UFO stuff. And so, they're like, they never do, what we do. And so they're like, can you check it out? Give us your advice or, what what you think it is. I look at the picture. And, I said, do you know what pareidolia is? Or do you know what matrixing is? This is what it possibly you think you're seeing, but it's not really that. And the person just, not the person talking to me on the show, but they were in the chats, waiting for my response. And when I gave it, man, they flipped out in the chats. I've been doing this since 1988. And I'm like, well, then if you've been doing it for this long, then you should know, And they just flipped it, man. And they were like angry. And "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." And I was like, listen, all I can give you is my honest opinion, and if you just don't want to hear it, then don't ask me.
Yep.
But it's crazy sometimes.
It's gonna be the same with any investigator.
Always scared of that.
Well, Keith Age, he actually told us a story one time that somebody came up with an orb picture, and he's like, "Oh no!" And the person stabbed him. Wasn't it? Stabbed him.
Supposedly.
Wow.
I'm like, no, okay. So I'm very cautious when people come up with videos or pictures.
You know
I'm
what
like,
though? If
I
someone
wasn't
comes
there.
but if someone comes up to you and they think that that's their Aunt Lucy or their mom
Yeah.
that's died, don't expect me to be the guy to tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to be like, oh wow, that's a great picture. Because I've learned way early on that they don't really want you to say your opinion. They just want you to shake your head and say yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Exactly.
going to break someone's.
It's validation for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. A lot of times it is. Yeah.
And I just told Brandon on my first show, and I told Daryl yesterday too. It's a very fine line you got to walk when you're in this field, especially like you mentioned about not wanting your son or your children to go to residential cases because it's just like a different ball game, right?
Yep.
There was a team that I met, and it was so sad, and that's why I'm very, very careful as far as what information I provide,
Right.
from what we documented, what I think it is. And then even when I give it to them, I try to, I'm very respectful and I know we can't control what people do once they gather that information. But this one team, they gave some information to the client, and what ended up happening was just so horrible. The family killed themselves, and it's a very unfortunate thing, and I know we can't control that, but that's why even now I'm like what may be their tipping point, and then those people killed themselves, unfortunately.
Yeah, you got to be careful
Yeah.
out there, man, because I mean, mental health is a huge thing that's roaming rampant, across the entire world. And I've worked behavioral health, outside of the paranormal for many years, and you definitely, and again, that's where those waivers and things all come into play, and really being sympathetic to the clients that we're serving, and even our crew members, because
Yeah.
weird stuff happens, man.
I will honestly say, just today at Vulture City, they're like, "Oh, are you able to read me?" Oh, I could totally read them, but I won't read you.
Because you don't want to hear.
I don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen, because to be honest with you, I don't trust myself in a way sometimes. So if I do going to tell you something, I would never ever forgive myself if something happened to one of them or whoever I couldn't do it. I love the psychic friends I have that do readings and all that, amazing. I'm just not putting myself out there to do that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and there's always a fine line between the courts and the paranormal, because sometimes the courts may not accept the paranormal stuff.
Yep.
True. Very true.
But yeah, so no, we come to the end of the show, and it's definitely been a pleasure having you both on, and all the shows we have, I wish they never ended. But
There you go.
real quickly, man, to you both, can you guys let us know if you're gonna have any more appearances on TV anytime soon, or are you kind of like staying away from that right now? What's going on?
Right now, we're hoping for a green light for season 3 of Haunted Case Files.
There we go.
Oh, nice.
We don't know. But there's definitely a few appearances you're going to see us on some very big paranormal related shows. Hopefully in the near future, if this COVID stuff would clear up a little bit, then we can get those cameras rolling and get some of that stuff knocked out of the way. So we're not done with TV. You'll definitely see some of that. We're working on a lot of independent projects and filming our own stuff now, because we kind of, just kind of get tired sometimes of following other people's formats, and then we're trying to follow our own.
I mean, everybody works with production, but we are working with a certain thing about it. Then the COVID thing happened, so
That's good.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
Working with that.
We have Vulture City Paracon first week of October of this year. Airline tickets are super cheap, guys, so you could be halfway across the U.S. and get tickets for like $100 right now to come out.
Hey, you didn't have any vacation now. Go ahead and come out here and do a vacation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of Vulture City, what place would you recommend there? Your favorite spot in Vulture City?
Vulture City for me would be the Roost, like the museum portion. It's in my opinion the most active location in the entire town.
Mine is the brothel.
The brothel is pretty amazing too.
Both sound fun.
So have y'all been to Tombstone?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Dude, I would love to
That's
go there.
where I learned my trade is out there, man. That's my first.
I barely could get him out of Tombstone. His area is Tombstone. Mine is Jerome. I love Jerome.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay,
He quotes so many Tombstone lines, right?
right from the movie.
Yeah.
He goes to,
if,
"I'm your Huckleberry."
how can people find you guys? Whether it's social media, and then also if they want to be, whether it's buy a ticket or whatever to go to the con you're gonna have. How can they get a hold of you or find that information?
Yeah, if you guys are looking and interested in tickets for the Vulture City Paracon, go to vulturecityparacon.com. I do have a discount code if you guys are watching, especially here on this show tonight. Send me directly an email. If you're looking for us, information specifically about Marina, you can go to yatesfamilyhaunting.com. That's yatesfamilyhaunting.com. Send me an email. I'll give you that discount code offer for you to purchase tickets on the Vulture City Paracon site. Our team's website, if you're interested in any kind of paranormal investigations in your area or in our area, that our team's website is thecopscrew.com. That's the cops, COPS crew.com. And you'll be able to find out all of our information there. And we're on social media, so just look up Jay and Marie Yates and you'll find us.
Perfect.
You guys need some paranormal badges.
Badges. Hey, for the cops crew, yeah.
So yeah, we want to thank you guys again for coming on. It's been a pleasure. We look forward to whenever you come on to the next show and we can come back and talk about it. That'd be amazing, man, for sure.
You guys have been great. I really appreciate
And hopefully
it.
maybe one day you guys can come out to Vulture City yourself and come to the
exactly.
fair.
I would love that.
We love that.
That would be great. So yeah, all our Midnight Watchers, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching the show. We appreciate you all. Much love and respect. And again, it's unfortunate this COVID-19 is occurring. It's a global thing. Everyone's being impacted. Just know that this is not going to be forever. I don't think we're going to go back to any kind of normalcy, just the way it was before. There's going to be change, but definitely we're going to go back. We're going to come to a point where we get to go back out, no more masks, hopefully, and just continue with our life. So just be patient. Wash your hands, don't touch your face. If you go out, do wear masks and gloves, and just be responsible. But we're going to reach a point where we definitely will go back to some kind of normalcy. So again, thank you all for watching. Go check out Jay and Marie Yates, all their social medias, previous shows they've been on. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. God bless you all. Talk to y'all guys soon. And if y'all can, real fast, Jay and Marie, that when I end this, it's going to kick everybody out. So if you can just jump back real quick, and then I'm going to talk to you guys.
Okay.
I wish Jay a happy birthday.
Yeah, one more time. Say happy birthday to Jay. It was his birthday today. Thank you all for watching.
Happy birthday, Jay.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, that's good.
All right, let's end this real quick.
Hey Midnight Watchers, you now reached the end of the show. If you want to look at more content on Midnight Paranormal Society, look us up on Instagram at midnight.paranormal.society. You can also look us up on Twitter at MPS_SATX. You can also find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/paranormalmps. You can also find us on YouTube. Just type in Midnight Paranormal Society. Thank you for the love and support, and thank you so much for watching. See you on the next show. Bye-bye.